Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Tier 8 British Premium Light Tank, the Senlac. Well, the two replays you're going to see are actually in the Becky Lynch, which is the WWE version of the Senlac, but it's exactly the same tank, it's just got the Becky Lynch skin. And yeah, the Becky Lynch is a pretty damn good tank. The Senlac is a tank that you are currently able to get, I still think, in the contract. It's been there for a wee while though, so it's probably running out of time by this point. And yes, Digital Man, I did get there eventually. We got the replays, and we're just going to show the tank off, essentially. And we've got two pretty damn nice replays for it as well. One on a map which is pretty good for it, like Erlenberg, and one map that ain't great for it, which is Pilsen. And yeah, I like the Becky Lynch, although I don't really play it that often. It's one of those tanks that I think is a pretty damn decent light tank, but I just genuinely don't play it that much for some reason. I think it's because there's so many tanks out there. So, what's the Senlac like? Well, the Senlac has a pretty damn nice gun. It's got a bit of a slow reload for 180 alpha, but its gun is pretty damn nice. The mobility of it is 65 kilometers an hour, which is pretty quick, but you are a chunky boy of a Senlac. And being a chunky boy means that you are actually pretty easy to hit. So, a lot of the time when you do go a little bit active, a lot of the time actually, most of the tanks that you're going to face will just snapshot you and hit you quite easily. You're not going to be like a Vanguard or like a HWK 30 even. You know, where, no, but HWK 30. Yeah, HWK 30. Where, you know, you just, even though you're a fairly large target, you seem to be quite maneuverable and you manage to dodge all the shells. Becky Lynch does not do that. It doesn't tend to dodge the shells quite as well, and if you go in on someone, they tend to hit you quite easily. Even though it's got 65 kilometers an hour top speed, just the way it moves, it feels, because of the fact that it is a big target, it does feel like you aren't the best in terms of your mobility. Even though you are, because as you can clearly see, we're moving at 65 kilometers an hour pretty damn easily. Right, it just feels like we are a bit more sluggish than we actually are. And it genuinely feels like when people start to target you, you just lose your hit points so damn fast in this tank because of the fact that you are so easy to hit. So something to bear in mind that when you play this tank, you might want to not play it quite as aggressively and quite as in the enemy tank's face. You might want to play it so that you're a bit more sort of peek-a-boom, passive, and trying not to be totally active YOLO scout, like that Herlenhund's doing up there, because the tank just doesn't accomplish it as well as a lot of the other light tanks. But I say the gun is pretty damn nice. The DPM is a little bit slow, like on all the British light tanks, but it's okay. In terms of penetration on the Senlac, you actually have 189 on the standard AP rounds, 223 on the premium APCR rounds, and you have 50mm of pen on the HE rounds. Now, the HE rounds are special on the Becky Lynch and on the Senlac, because the WWE tanks all had their own little gimmick, and the Becky Lynch Senlac, basically, and it's the same for the unskinned Senlac, has grenades, I think it is what they're listed as. And basically what it happens is you switch to the HE and you have a really quick reload and you do 80 damage with 50 pen. So all of a sudden you start going pew, 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 and you can really shred tanks really quickly. The problem is that you don't really have the penetration to go through anything that's more or less not lightly armoured. So those HE rounds can be a bit of a pain at times to use, and I take them for the memes, but generally just only use them for tanks that basically have absolutely no armour. So what do I run in terms of recruit on the Senlac? Well, on the Senlac, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Muffled Shot, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun. The 3 gun perks to make the gun as good as possible, and especially to help me to not run vertical stabilizers. The 2 camouflage perks, because you're a light tank and it's nice to have those camo perks, although you might want to not take Muffled Shot and take something else, I don't know, because it doesn't have the best camo in the world, because it is a fairly big target as a light tank. And all the rest of the perks, because they're generally what you do take. And in terms of equipment, I take Advanced Loader, the Camo Net, and Optics. Camo Net to make my camo as good as possible, because the camo isn't that good on the Senlac, realistically, and for a light tank at tier 8, that is. And Optics to be able to spot for myself, as well as the loader to make my DPM 10% better. So as you can see, that first game was pretty rip-roaring in the Erlenberg match. We managed to just run around, do some damage. We got 3 kills, 3.6k damage, 1800 assistance, ace tanker, and the 1843 base XP. We got a pretty damn nice game there in the Senlac. Showed it what you can do when you're going around spotting. Make sure that you're not being too active. As you can see when we went against the Tiger 2, the Tiger 2 just started shredding us. Even, well, I mean, don't get me wrong, my driving wasn't perfect. But, you know, he had no problem just tearing us apart when he started to decide to shoot us. So we were trying to use the buildings to play peekaboo, trying to peek around the corner to keep people spotted. And we managed to get a bit of assistance off of it, as well as getting quite a bit of damage. Now, the second replay, we're on Pilsen. And this is where I feel like the Senlac is pretty consistent with the way it deals damage. I've always felt that since it came out before 6.0 as well, that even though I'm not firing the quickest, and I do wish it fired at, like, I don't know, 3.2, it's 4 seconds reload is what we have at the minute with this full kit setup. I kind of wish it was like 3.2 or something like that, you know, just that little bit faster. Same as having the HE rounds. I wish the HE rounds like had 100 pen or something so that you could actually use them effectively and you can use the gimmick. But I just feel like, even though it's got a slower reload, I feel like the gun is so damn consistent because the accuracy on the tank, since it got buffed, is now, as you can see there, 0.35. And then they did buff the accuracy as well during movement and rotation and stuff like that, which also helps the gun feel more accurate as well. Well, just more consistent. And yeah, even before those changes, the gun just felt consistent. I don't know if it's because it's a little, you know, it's just firing a little bit slower, so thus you're making sure your shells are hitting, making sure your shells are aimed, etc., etc. But it just felt like I was consistently dealing damage, and on maps like this on Pilsen, I always felt like I could just keep pumping out the hurt. Naturally, when you're in tier 9 and 10 games, it's a lot harder to do that because I mean 229 pen or 223 pen, sorry, is not good enough for facing tier 10s, really. You really have to have the rears and the sides, but then you are a light tank, so that's the way it's supposed to be anyway, right? But when you're in top tier games, you can just have a lot of fun with it. And I'd say I really do enjoy it. And as you can see so far, we're on 751 damage, and we're just going to hunt the artillery. It's like, hello, Mr. Artillery. We go straight for the drive wheel. We end up tracking it in place, and we're keeping him permatracked, but this guy is now boned. He's going to die to my friend, and he gets shut down. Now, that's the other thing with having 180 alpha, though, on the Senlac that's pretty nice, is the fact that when you go for drive wheels, a lot of the time, not so much on the heavies, but the mediums and lights, you tend to do knock the tracks out, like, first time, a lot of the time, which is really, really good. And as you can see, we aren't running vertical stabilizers, and we still are hitting quite a few shells on the move. And that is just, it's so nice to have, even the fact that we're not running vertical stabilizers, which are usually the things that really help you in this regard. So it just gives you that freedom to choose and get different equipment to sort of make your setup better, pretty much. So we've managed to get a few shots into that T29, and now we were starting to get shots at from down there. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to get up to the next ridgeline. We need to get up to the next ridgeline because that way we'll stay safe from the guys that are around G7. We come over and it's like, oh, that's a W0121 GFT, and we get shot by the T29, who ends up getting shut down by the T28 prototype. But this Chinese TD basically is not paying any attention to us because naturally he's been pressured by everyone. And we're moving on to our next target, this VK3601H. We get a shot through his turret, we're up to 2.7k damage, and I basically just want to keep farming. So we come up on top of here, we end up finding a Cromwell B, which we get a shot into him as he was pulling back. We're watching to see what the heavy tank was doing, but he's actually in the distance, so we don't have to worry about it. And I think the light tank actually takes the hit for us there, because we just got very fortunate. We get a shot into this Cromwell B, but we're going to finish him off with the shell, because thankfully he sat there, and we get rid of the Cromwell B. Next, I want to kind of get rid of the Ragnarok, but the T-3485 just says, please kill me, end my suffering, and, you know, we get rid of him. Now the Ragnarok is next, and we shut it down. As you can see, with the reload, again, I do feel like I just want it to be that little bit quicker. Just a little bit. Because, like, with that Ragnarok, we got one shot into his rear, and then it was like, come on, come on, come on, come on. And then we killed him. That's what it feels like at times with the Senlac when you're doing it. But now they've got the Draugen left on this flank, so we're going to go in on this Draugen, and unfortunately, we don't quite get there to get the shot into him. to shut him, well, to not even shut him down, just to add to our tally. We'd see the Samua is over here, so we load premium, because against a Samua SM, our 189 pen is not realistically going to cut the grade against that guy. So 223 pen is what might do it. So hopefully we can get some shots into the top of his turret, because that's where we're going to be able to pen. Because if you're shooting a Samua, the option is the best option is to always shoot the turrets and shoot the cupolas, because the upper plate and it's pretty damn strong. So we get a shot into the cupola of the Samua. There's only one tank left now on the enemy team, though. It's this light tank, and I'm going, come here, mate. I want to ram you. Good night, sweet prince. And he is gone. And we finished the game with a really nice total on the map that's not very good for the Senlac, and that is 5 kills, 4,074 damage, 248 assistance, the ace tanker, the Confederate, the high caliber, 1,792 base XP. A pretty damn nice game for the Senlac, or for the Bucky Lynch, both exactly the same tank. It's a pretty damn decent tank. Is it an absolutely outstanding light tank? No. But it's useful. You can do stuff with it, and I quite like it, but I know British bias. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!